The old Victorian mansion stood alone on a desolate hill, its windows shattered, and its once magnificent facade faded by time and neglect. Locals whispered about the haunted house, a place they dared not approach, for its history was shrouded in darkness. In the autumn of 1923, a family of 3 arrived in the small town of Ravenswood, seeking refuge from the city's chaotic bustle. Henry, Sarah, and their 8-year-old daughter, Emily, had heard tales of the abandoned mansion and, against the warnings of the townsfolk, decided to make it their new home. The first few nights passed uneventfully, and they started to believe the stories were mere superstition. But on the 4th night, as the full moon cast an eerie glow on the mansion, Emily awoke to the sound of faint whispering. She climbed out of her bed, following the mysterious voices to a narrow corridor on the 2nd floor. There, she found an ornate wooden door hidden behind a dusty tapestry, its intricate design mesmerizing. As she touched the doorknob, a cold wind swept through the corridor, extinguishing the candles that lined the walls. Emily hesitated for a moment, but her curiosity got the better of her. She turned the knob and entered the room beyond. The room was unlike any other in the mansion. It was pristine, untouched by time, and filled with antique toys and dolls. The walls were adorned with portraits of children who bore striking resemblances to Emily. In the center of the room was a massive, intricately carved wooden dollhouse that mimicked the Victorian mansion itself. The dolls inside the miniature house were eerily lifelike, and as Emily examined them, she noticed a peculiar pattern. Each doll resembled a member of her family, down to the finest details. Henry, Sarah, and even Emily herself had their own tiny counterparts. It was as though the dolls were trapped in a never-ending reenactment of the family's arrival. Emily watched in horror as the dolls inched closer to a recreation of the hidden room, then stopped abruptly, turning their heads to look at her. Their lifeless eyes stared right into her soul. Terrified, Emily ran out of the room, slamming the ornate door shut behind her. She awoke her parents, but when they entered the corridor and tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. The supernatural cold had returned, and the whispers grew louder, filling their minds with fear and dread. Days turned into weeks, and the family became prisoners in their own home. The mansion seemed to feed on their fear, its dark presence growing stronger with each passing night. As their sanity unraveled, they heard the dollhouse's tiny inhabitants chanting a name in eerie unison: Emily, Emily, come play with us. One fateful night, Emily couldn't resist the beckoning call any longer. She returned to the forgotten room, the door now mysteriously ajar. The dolls inside turned their heads toward her, their painted smiles widening. She stepped inside, joining their never-ending game. The town of Ravenswood never saw the family again, and the mansion atop the desolate hill remained abandoned, its secrets buried deep within. Those who ventured too close could still hear the faint, chilling whispers, and some claimed they saw the face of a young girl in the mansion's window, longing to escape the eternal nightmare of the forgotten room.